What's going on, everybody? This is Moose, Garrett, and Boyle here from OccupyFantasy.com at OccupyFantasy on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, I'm Moose at CFB underscore Moose. Here, one of the co-founders, and Data Guru here at Occupy Fantasy. Brought on our two NBA writers, Garrett and Boyle. We'll start at the top right of your screen. Garrett at GStroms99 on Twitter. Again, one of our NBA writers. How are you tonight, Garrett?
I'm doing well, man. I'm ready to get the slate going.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then on the left of your screen, we have Boyle at tboyle24 underscore DFS on Twitter. How are you tonight, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. Haven't been on one of these in probably a month or so I'm excited to get back into it.
Yeah, it's definitely been a fun time. Glad that you're back here, able to grind it out. I'm gonna go ahead and get this tweeted out here. If you're here, definitely say hello. If you have any questions, we'll be here for about 30 minutes or so, answering your questions, offering up DFS picks and lineup advice for NBA DFS, for FanDuel and DraftKings. Now, Garrett, I'll start it off with you. There is a game that's postponed today, and that did offer. We originally had a lot of value scheduled for that slate, so kind of give me an if-then section with that game. I know that sounds pretty strange, but there was so much value in that game that who are some people that were switching over with from that game?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we lose a ton of value from that game. Two core players that we had in Chios and Claxton to start. Towns was ruled out before the game was postponed, so Nas Reed was going to become a very strong play. We also lost guys like Blake Griffin, Jeff Green, Joe Harris, Bruce Brown. So a lot of players in that game were in our top plays list. So obviously that changes up the slate a lot with a lot of value plays lost. But we do have some value plays still left on the slate to kind of keep the build that we wanted to throughout the day, and very minimal amounts of if-thens that we can that really affect the slate at a big impact. So really, I don't think it affects the slate too much. It just kind of pivots our value plays a little bit, kind of gives us a little bit more priority to get to those Utah guys, Golden State guys.
Yeah, as if you are a subscriber to Occupy and you have access to the Occupy model, which ranks every player on the slate. If you sort by our value column, you'll see that the Jazz, Utah has a bunch of their guys in the top there. And so Boyle, so some of those guys that you like, are there any ones that kind of really stand out for you from that value? Maybe I should probably start my lineup with this person.
Yeah, so basically that's kind of what we do with the core here. But I guess if I'm looking deeper into the core, obviously cover boy Donovan Mitchell, we're just kind of throwing him in our lineups, low and high risk. Kent Bazemore is also pretty consistent on both sites. Yeah, I mean, are you kind of referring to like Jazz, like which Jazz players, I guess, too?
Yeah, I was just trying to hype up the cover boy. Yeah, I
All
mean,
right, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of hyped him up already, but yeah, I mean, obviously the Jazz are missing two players, so we love Mitchell tonight.
mhm.
And hell, even the model loves him. The model's made for high risk, so we're throwing Mitchell and everything. Um, then just the other guys too, like Royce O'Neal, Ingles, like just those other Jazz guys who's seen a small bump on a night like tonight. We're gonna have to play them.
Yeah, and I switch over to the model really quick, and I'm just gonna go ahead and filter out Utah. You'll see here, with Mitchell, just sorted by DraftKings ownership, Mitchell projected to be 44%, which is very high. But several other players in the 18 to 20 plus range. So yeah, expect Utah to be not only just a value, but a very popular one as well. So be careful about how you play them in your lineups, so you don't get duped or play them incorrectly in low risk contests. Switching back to the plug, and Adam says, how are we feeling about Josh Jackson? Garrett, what's your take on Josh Jackson tonight?
He's not actually on the slate. He's our roommate he actually got a holo pack off of NBA Top Shot today, and
I was
his
wondering.
holo card was Josh Jackson.
Yeah,
So
okay,
he's now a
that
big
makes more
Josh
sense.
Jackson fan. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, why is he talking about Josh Jackson? So cool. So again, if you have actual questions, go ahead and ask them before Adam gets banned here in the chat. Um, let's talk about some more of the if-then sections here. And if we scroll down here, really only I guess the big one, I guess right now is the Lakers situation. So if either one of y'all, I can't remember which one of you all wrote the if then section this time for today. If you want to take it over and talk about the if then sections.
Yeah. So that was me today, and I guess most days for the if then. But for the Lakers, they really haven't had a set starting lineup for the past couple of games. I went back like 4 or 5 games, and I think every single game they had a different starting lineup. I did see that Matthews and Kuzma both did not play last game, and that kind of forced the Lakers to start Horton Tucker. His price went up a lot after last game, but I mean, there's a pretty good reason for it because I think he ended up with like 36 FanDuel points. So I mean, he's going to be one of our top plays tonight. I mean, there's not really much else. They adjusted most of the other prices, sadly, for the Lakers. We do love Drummond, and without Kuzma, Drummond's usage rate goes up a little bit. But again, there's not much data on it just because there's so few minutes played together.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of just take that with a grain of salt.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me. Real quick, someone in chat said, Boyle, can you dunk on Garrett?
I dunk on Garrett. I mean,
Yeah.
I could if you bring the net down to
I
about.
was like, can you dunk? Yeah.
I was about to say, can you even dunk, Boyle?
I'm not going to be able to dunk on somebody on 10 feet. I mean, you bring it down to like 9.5, then yeah, I'll dunk on him. But
Nah. That's when the hard foul comes into play.
Yeah, that's when the prison rules come in.
I'll take the flagrant. I'll take the flagrant.
Yeah, definitely. Cody has a question here. Thank you, Cody, for asking a legitimate question. Is the core built for both cash and GPPs?
Yeah, so our core is built for both our cash and GPP lineups on both sites. Those are kind of the guys that we're going to have our heaviest ownership on. Sometimes we'll have, on FanDuel, like we have a few centers listed. It's just kind of which one of those centers fits best into your build when you're making your lineups. We love all of them. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how that goes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Real quick, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think I cut out. My other headphones died like mid-sentence, so I had to quick grab the other ones. But we're good now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're good.
Perfect. So, I want to go back to the model here for a second, and Boyle, I will wrap you in here. If we switch back, get out of Utah, and just sort by some of these high-owned guys on the DraftKings, Jokic, Mitchell, Curry, Bogdanovich. Any of these players, 20 plus or more, is there anyone that stands out from you from a negative way, whereas I think the field's way over on him and I need to be a lot less?
I'm thinking Luka. I mean, unless KP's rolled out and his usage rate goes sky high without Porzingis on the floor. But as of right now, if Porzingis plays, Luka should not be 24% owned. There's a lot of other point guards that we highlighted in the plug. I know Garrett wrote point guards, but he's all over Fox tonight.
Okay.
As his favorite. And by not playing Luka, you can definitely fit in a lot more of those 8 to 9K guys, like Mitchell, for example.
Yeah, and it's pointing out Luka here, OF index of 12.9 and a DK value of 12.1 compared to Fox 12.1, so there's a slight dip in OF index, but a higher DK value and half the ownership. So, Garrett, that sounds pretty awesome. Do you want to talk about Fox for a little bit? Why he's such a good play?
Yeah, I mean, Luka. First of all, a 12.9 OF index is kind of a bad day for Luka on the Occupy model. He's usually up around the 14-15 area. So I think the model also agrees. Luka isn't the best play on the slate in terms of elite options. My love for Fox is just the game environment he's going to be in tonight. New Orleans is really fast-paced, so is Sacramento. Halliburton's moved to the bench. I think we got to assume he's moved to the bench now with Harkless starting last game. And I think that gives a lot more opportunity for Fox to run. So Fox plays much nearly 40 minutes a game. And in his 2 games against New Orleans this year, he's averaged 70 DraftKings points.
Sheesh.
Just that right there just screams Fox for me on the slate. I don't mean to be a box score watcher, but when you play 2 games and average 70 DraftKings points, it's not like one was like 90, the other one was like around 50. Like they were both around 70. So that really excites me, along with the pace of the game. And New Orleans is, I think, a bottom 3-point guard defense in the league.
Yeah, so I mean that's like you said, the fact that Luka is definitely having an off day in the model, and Fox has all that going for him. Definitely good to play there for Fox. Just for full transparency, going back to the plug and looking at the point guard section, there's also Steph Curry as an elite option, and then Murray and Morant as mid options. No value options really at point guard.
Was one.
Yeah, there was
anymore.
Nope, not anymore. Cool. So, Boyle, I'll switch it back to you. Cam has a question. Bazemore or Bogdanovich on FanDuel?
I'm just gonna go with the core plays, and we're gonna go Bazemore. You gotta trust the core.
Definitely. And speaking of that, what's a position that you wrote up that you want to talk about tonight?
I can talk about either power forwards or centers. Either one.
I know you love your centers, so I'll let you speak on that. And I'll show the top centers here from the plug that you can check out at OccupyFantasy.com. So Boyle, go ahead and spit your knowledge.
Yeah. So obviously, Von Looney is a good play. Wiseman's out. Kevin's probably going to start, and he's just way too cheap. However, if you don't need the value play, we do like a lot of our mid-tier options. Andre Drummond, for example, has been playing really well with the Lakers. I believe he hit like 5.5 times value last game in only 22 minutes in that blowout with the Nets. I'm not sure if his minutes are still limited or if it was just a blowout and they said, all right, everyone come back to the bench. We don't actually need to play you. But if Drummond gets 30 minutes, he's gonna crush that price. And then just Jokic, especially if Murray's out tonight, I kind of wrote up in the if-then that he's more of a higher risk center just because we already have a lot of other elite options we like on this slate.
Yeah.
But if you do want to play Jokic, if Murray doesn't play, Jokic averages 63.42 DraftKings points per game, and that's over 6 games. So it's not a small sample size. It's 6 games where he's got basically 6 times his 6 times value. So
yeah, no, so that's great. Yes, definitely. If Murray's out, definitely look to fit in Jokic in your lineups. If not, there's several mid-tier options that you can go ahead and fit in. Do you think, real quick, I know you talked about Looney being a value play, but do you think center is the place to go value tonight?
I really think it depends. I know that there's some Jazz value in there. Chris O'Neal's one. We have a lot of cheaper guys listed as small forwards tonight. So after paying down for all these guys, if you still need value, then I would say, yeah, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do like some of those mid-tier options with Holmes, Drummond. If you're playing on DraftKings, we like Bamba a lot at only 4.3. So, even that's kind of a value play. But
yeah.
I think it really just depends on your other. I would go fill up your forward spots first and then look at centers. And if you need value, go value. But definitely, I guess, value more on the forward side.
Definitely. And thank you, Adam, for the $2. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like that little emote zombie that just walked by. I didn't even know that was a thing that could happen when someone donated. So thank you, Adam, for that. He says, can we hear about the power forwards too?
Sure. Adam just hyped me up now, I guess.
Let's go. And that kind of ties into Brian's question. It says, opinions on Zion relative to the other elite options. He pops pretty good in the model.
Yeah. Me and G were just talking about this before the stream. We were saying that, if you're going low risk tonight for power forwards, our 2 right there is O'Neal and Zion. I feel like unless you want to go double Jazz power forwards, which honestly, I don't normally try to go 2 players on the same position on the same team just because they cut into each other's minutes and it's negative correlation. But tonight, we're definitely looking Williamson and O'Neal as our low risk power forwards.
Definitely. So spit a little bit more knowledge for Adam. I know you talked about Zion. What about it's like for mid you have Harrison Barnes, and then value you have Royce O'Neal and Georges. For DK.
Yeah, O'Neal's going to start. He's going to start, and he's going to see an increase of usage just because of Mitchell and Clarkson being out. He's probably going to see a little more minutes as well. I think he's pretty high on the model. I can pull it up real quick. So if you rank by FanDuel value, O'Neal is the 3rd highest.
Wow.
I guess he's 2nd highest. He's tied with Ingles. So, we definitely love O'Neal for low risk. Yeah, I mean, I'm really solid, like set on those two, especially low risk. I know my roommate Adam, and I know he normally goes low risk to try to double his money. So I'm just going to tell him straight up. I would go Williamson and O'Neal for him.
Nice. Yeah, so that's it's pretty good. And then if it was Adam, yeah, Adam, if you want us to go in depth a little bit more, or if you have specific players in mind, go ahead and ask, and we'll give you our opinions on that. Carl, what's up, Carl? He says, "Did you fire Jester? He's the best one." No, he's just taking the NBA stream off. Doesn't really do much NBA, so I brought on the NBA experts. Nobody I know knows more about NBA than these two. So let's pop it back over to the model. Garrett, I'll ask you this, and I'm bringing it up just from using the filter between 5 and 10% on DraftKings. Gives us 9 players. Of these players, which ones should we definitely hammer and get over the field on that we haven't really talked about?
So you said 5 to 10% on DraftKings?
Yeah.
Getting my model up too. Which one should we hammer? Looking at the model right now, I mean Andrew Wiggins is definitely one that I'm looking towards. He's one of our top small forward options. With Kelly Oubre out, he becomes a solidified number 2 on offense. So definitely Andrew Wiggins. And then my second option, it would probably have to go to Christian Wood against Phoenix. I think he's a little underrated tonight, especially in high risk. Phoenix, Ayton's not the best defender. So I think Christian Wood, especially with his agility, should be able to work some magic against Ayton.
Nice. Yeah, and one thing I do like to point out, and any of y'all can point me out if I'm wrong, but when looking at these lower these lower owned people, like guys that are less than 10% or something, I like to definitely try and filter out people who have projected for low minutes, like Jonas. He's the only one of these projected for less than 30. Yeah. Some of these other people projected for 35. I'll kind of use that as a final tiebreaker. They might be around the same OF index or even more, but no, if you're playing, potentially 6 minutes more, I'm gonna try and pick you every time. Cool. Adam says, O'Neal sounds great. Thanks for the analysis. And then Cody says, "What's your thoughts on Clark tonight?" If Boyle, you want to answer that.
I'm assuming he means Brandon Clark, right?
Yeah, I would assume that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't played much since coming back from his injury, so I'm off him tonight, honestly. I mean, I know on DraftKings his price is kind of appealing at 4.3, but yeah, I'm just kind of staying away from him. I think he's seen 19 minutes and then 22 minutes in his first 2 games back, so I can't see him playing more than like 22 minutes again.
Okay. Sounds like a plan to me. And great question here as I switch back to the plug from Carl. You're on I'm gonna ask both of you all this. You're on a desert island, and the only way you can get off is to pick one player to score 50 DraftKings fantasy points on tonight's game. Who do you pick and why?
Good question.
So for me, I mean, obviously, I think the answer that most people will give on this slate is Donovan Mitchell. But just because I love him so much in this slate, I'm going to go De'Aaron Fox. And I explained a lot of that earlier on in the stream. Mm-hmm. Just the matchup, his previous success against the Pelicans and the pace of the game. Fox has insanely high upside tonight.
Nice. What about you, Boyle?
I mean, I'm going to say the same thing with Mitchell. But then, I mean, Jokic normally gets 50 points anyway. So, like, I can get off the island pretty easy if I just pick him. But if you want someone a little bit cheaper than 10.8, then I'll say Mitchell.
Yeah, I was going to say Mitchell as well. You got to go with the cover boy. And does that change, as Cody points out, same for FanDuel, laughing emoji. So is there anyone that you think would be FanDuel specific? Either of y'all can answer this, that has a chance of scoring 50 fantasy points?
I think it's the same on both sites for me. Just those 2 guys. I guess I would pick those 2 guys. I mean, Jokic and Donovan Mitchell, I think, would be the easy picks right there. But I still think if you want to get a little risky on trying to get off the island, I would go Fox.
Yeah, definitely. So cool. So all right, so we're here for about 10 minutes left. Garrett, we haven't talked about some of the guards. There's still a couple out there left that you like tonight. Any, I guess, probably shooting guard would probably be the one we haven't talked about the most or the least.
Switch over to shooting guard.
Okay.
Um,
So
obviously,
yeah, you have Mitchell, Coverboy, DeRozan as elite options, and a couple of mid options. So if you want to spit some knowledge there.
yeah. So obviously the cover boy Mitchell. Clarkson and Conley both out. Mitchell just skyrockets in the model. All of our projections, Mitchell's going to be one of the highest owned guys on the slate on both sites. He's our core play tonight on both sites, so I think you just got to play Mitchell. DeRozan's a little bit higher risk just because he's so inconsistent with his Greg Popovich and his minutes. But he is going up against a terrible Magic defense. Ever since the trade deadline, the Magic have been really crappy at defense. So DeRozan has a lot of upside, but he's also risky. He could have a dud of a game. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Ingles, he's my second favorite shooting guard behind Mitchell. He gets probably the second biggest boost on the entire team behind Mitchell from this entire injury resting situation going on. And then Wiggins, we have the high risk tag on him from in the plug, but I think it's off of him now with Bruce Brown off of the list because of the game postponement.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about him a little bit earlier. Kelly Oubre's out, so he's basically the number 2 guy on offense behind Steph Curry.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's pretty much it for shooting guards. Definitely start with those, and then if you need some extra options, definitely go ahead and switch over to the model. See what the model likes over there. I'm gonna ask you, Boyle, real quick for the bankroll section. I know we talked about a loss of a lot of value with the game being postponed. Is that changing your allocation any at all tonight? Are you lowering your allocation because of that?
I still think we have enough value to lean lower risk.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of the value got knocked off, but I mean, if you plug in O'Neal and all these other value plays that we like, you should still have enough to get up to the Foxes and the Mitchells and Zions of the world. I mean, you should. Haven't really made a lineup in the past hour, but I would assume that's how it would be. So I'm still leaning low risk. I mean, maybe I'd bring the bankroll allocation down to maybe 1 to 2% instead of 2 to 3, but that's really the only change I would make.
Nice. Anything to add to that, Garrett? Is that pretty much what you think too?
I agree with Boyle on all that. I still feel comfortable with my bankroll allocation on the slate. Even though we lost one game, that was a very chalky game anyway. I don't think you would have gained too much of leverage by playing anyone in that game. So I think the bankroll allocation is still fine for me. I understand going down 1 to 2 as well, with a lot of chalky options taken off.
Yeah, exactly. Cody has a question here. Boy, I'll ask you. Overall, 1 versus 1, Curry or Zion?
I would want to say Zion just because I mean I saw him when the Sixers put Danny Green on him the other night, and the height difference was insane. Zion just bodied him. So you give Zion the ball first, I feel like he would just body Curry every single possession.
Yeah, I feel like whoever gets the ball first there is going to win.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it depends on that, but yeah, I mean, they Sixers put Danny Green on Zion. I think Zion ended up with Garrett, what was it, 35, 36?
Yeah, I still don't understand them not putting Ben Simmons on him. I just don't understand it.
I understand the idea behind it, but it just did not work at all.
Definitely. And then a question here from Cam. I asked you, Garrett, is Halliburton viable tonight on FanDuel?
Halliburton's viable. He's projected in the model to get pretty decent FanDuel ownership actually, and I understand why, but I don't love it too much. He's projected in the model 24% ownership on FanDuel. He's cheaper on that site. He'll still see probably around his 30 minutes, and he's playing off the bench, which probably means he'll get better opportunities. Just don't see the reason to go to Halliburton tonight. I don't really understand the love for him off the bench.
Yeah, it's always weird when you see some of those players and you're like, I don't really know why. Why is he 25% on FanDuel and let's hope.
Yeah, it was kind of like Joe Val the other night. He was, I think, 30% on FanDuel, and he dropped 70 FanDuel points. And I didn't understand it at first, and after like mid game, I kind of understood it once Sabonis had 5,000. They didn't really have a center to throw at him.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
See if that happens tonight.
Exactly. Yeah. Brian has a good question here that I'll ask you. I don't know if either one of you all plays Showdown, but what is the lowest minute projection that you go in Showdown contests?
I don't play too much Showdown, but I try to stay over 20. Unless like I have a lot of studs in my lineup, maybe I'll do one between 15 to 20. That I think is a high production player. But usually I'll try to aim for over 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If you have a player like in that Lakers series, I think the last time I played Showdown was the NBA Finals, but I remember if you could fit all the studs in your lineup and you could throw in like a Alex Caruso, who at the time was coming off the bench and playing 15 minutes, you can throw one of those players in there who can play 15 minutes and possibly at the end of the game, then that's kind of what I do. I think 15 is probably the absolute lowest though.
Yeah. I sounds reasonable to me. Cool. So we'll be here for just a couple more minutes. Again, if you like what you saw here, definitely give the video a thumbs up. That really helps us out. If you're not subscribed already, hit subscribe. And if you want to donate, you can be like Adam and donate to us, or you can join. Hit the join button down below. That'll give you access to our exclusive Discord channel where you can talk to all of us, all staff and members from Occupy. Really, really awesome time. I know Garrett, Boyle, you all are always in there crushing it, giving advice, answering questions. So, yeah, if you want to be in our Discord, definitely go ahead and do that. If you want to read the daily plug, go ahead and check out OccupyFantasy.com. You can also check out the Occupy model and our lineup builder. So I think that's enough plug. I think I plugged everything. Garrett, I'll kick it off to you first. Is there anything else we missed or anything else you want to add before we get up out of here?
I really don't think there's anything too much that we missed on this slate. We have some if-then still with Jamal Murray, Kristaps, and all that Lakers stuff. Even as minimally as it affects the slate for most of it, still keep an eye on it. You might be in a spot where you might need to make a pivot later on, and just know that, these situations are in play and you can use them to your advantage.
Yeah. And then Boyle, do you have any last words you want to say?
Yeah, FanDuel satellite selection sucks. So if you all want to join me and just spam tweeting at them until they start making super saddies again, that'll work perfectly fine.
Definitely. And then actually, last question here from O. I'll ask both of you all this, and you can have the same answer if you want. Favorite low-owned stud for FanDuel?
So on FanDuel, on the Occupy model, I changed it so that it only shows 8,000 to 11,000 on FanDuel for pricing. Favorite low-owned stud. Honestly, for me, it would probably, I know one of our members is gonna like this, either Zach LaVine or Chris Paul.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Boyle?
LaVine's been absolutely on fire for the last couple of games. So as long as he rides the hot streak, then yeah, low own probably him.
Okay. Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you, Garrett and Boyle, for joining us tonight. Thank you, everyone that joined the chat. Again, I'm Moose. Follow me at CFB_Moose. You can follow Garrett at GStroms99, Boyle at TBoyle24_DFS. Follow Occupy at Occupy Fantasy. The website's OccupyFantasy.com. So until next time, all of us here from Occupy, have a good night.
You guys.